And today's topic is building immunity. And this is the sixth episode of Bella and Kiko's podcast. And I'm really, really excited. And I'm so happy to connect with you, Bella, again and learn from you. So, how are you?
I'm good. I've been keeping busy just like you, and here we are. It's officially fall, and we just had Halloween here. Do you guys do Halloween in Japan?
It's been so popular now. The center of Japan, there's a huge crossing. I think it's the most populated crossing in the world, Shibuya crossing, and that has been like overcrowded with Halloween costume. I think police needed to control something. This gets really wild. People dressing so
Wow.
wild and just crossing that famous street.
I
So,
know the street you're talking about. I've seen videos of it. I
mm.
didn't realize that was where you live. That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
Halloween is. Sorry, go ahead.
but here in Kyoto, where I live, is a very traditional place. So I love it. I don't like this kind of festivity thing.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, we don't feel Christmas. We don't feel Halloween. It's very traditional.
That's
Yeah.
nice. That's nice. Yeah. Oh my gosh, LA loves Halloween. I think LA loves Halloween more than Christmas. It's so busy here. It's but I'm not into it really. I do a Halloween recital with my students and then I give out candy to the trick-or-treaters and that's about it. Really
Nice.
I'm not into Halloween. But it does mark the beginning of the bad decision making season, which is why we're talking about immunity today.
So true. I do remember in the States, like, yeah, you're allowed to go bad
Yeah.
till the end of, from starting from Halloween trick or treat. And
Mhm.
I remember when I was working in New York, like there are sweets, like lots of sweets in my office, and it's like a lot of, free treats. And then until the end of the year, it's okay to be bad. And then New Year, poof, you go on the cleanse.
Exactly. It happens every single year. And I think if I weren't, somebody who was actively writing about this stuff all the time, it could be very easy for me to just forget about it every October. Like I can see how people just go, "Oh, it's Halloween, have some candy. Come on, don't be such a stick in the mud." And then Thanksgiving comes and we gorge ourselves on all kinds of food and then there's pie and from that point then there's all the Christmas parties and the Hanukkah parties in December, which is loaded with a alcohol. I think is actually the biggest problem that we have here. I
Hmm.
think sweets and alcohol are the biggest problems. And then what happens is January comes and we have two events now that exist in the modern era. We have dry January where everybody goes sober, and then we have veganuary where everyone goes vegan. I'm sure you've noticed this too every year. I think it's really funny they happen in the same month.
That's funny, Veganuary, because November 1st was the World Vegan Day.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's like everyone wants the fresh start so that we can be bad and then fresh start. And I have gone through this, and I know the shortcut. Never do this again. It's better for our body and mind to keep it consistent.
Exactly, because I know what you mean. I've also been there myself. Before I got really serious about my health, I would have the same attitude that everybody else has in October, Thursday, October, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. And I just wanted to have fun with everybody else. I wanted to
Mm.
enjoy the festivities. But what I noticed was happening is that every year I would gain a little bit of weight during those holidays, and then I would have to work so hard to get the weight off. And then I heard somebody else say that what happens a lot this one person's theory is that what happens is, how a lot of people will gain a lot of weight by the time they're in their 30s, and then it
Mm.
just tends to get harder and harder for them. They keep gaining weight as time goes by. I heard somebody pose a theory that what they think is actually happening is they gain that weight during the holiday season from
Mm,
October to January. They don't bother trying to lose it, and so it just accumulates. Then the next year they gain some more weight, and then the next year they get, before they know it, they have 25 extra pounds, maybe even more, depending on what's happening throughout the rest of the year. So so I was suggesting that maybe we should do a podcast on immunity building, because
mm,
the other thing that happens is that people get sick. So we're not exactly talking about weight loss in this episode, but everybody gets sick during the holidays, and it makes perfect sense. You've got stress.
mm,
There's so much stress involved, and we should touch on that a little bit. There, it's unavoidable.
mhm,
Holidays bring up what there's stress right in front of you because you have all this pressure to do certain things. There's typically family events, and this can be very stressful for people.
mm.
It brings up trauma, like it brings up stuff for I think everybody, and we're so busy, we don't talk about it. We
Mm,
can't talk about it. Some of us just can't talk about it. It's too embarrassing or shame inducing. For other people, it's just like, when do you have the time to talk about it? Everything gets so hectic and busy, so you
mm,
don't even have time to process the trauma that's coming up for you. And then on top of that, you're drinking a ton of alcohol all the time, and you're consuming sugary foods, and you're not getting enough nutrients. So
mm.
of course you get sick, and everybody's just like, "Oh, it's going around, it's flu season." I'm like, "No, you're eating garbage and drinking alcohol, and your stress levels are through the roof.
Yeah.
That's why you got sick."
Yeah, definitely. And this is definitely a great time to talk about building immunity, how we can combat, right? Because
Mm,
when there's so many ways to build our immunity. So I'm really excited to dive in and what we can do about it.
yeah. Okay. So I made a little list of things that we should go through.
Yeah.
And I think that stress is an important thing to keep in mind.
Mm,
Stress management is probably number one. And next week, as we were discussing earlier, next week we're going to talk specifically about stress. So maybe I'll save that for next week's podcast,
mm,
which is fine because actually your body needs to have an arsenal of nutrients in order to help your body combat what the stress is doing to your body. Does that make sense? How I just said that?
yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about the things we need to be mindful of. I have a feeling that most people on this podcast or listening to this podcast are probably not big drinkers, but there probably are some people who engage during holiday parties. And even if people typically don't drink a lot, they might feel like, oh, I want to just join in. But I think it's important that we talk about alcohol first because it's a main staple in holiday celebrations. And the biggest problem with drinking alcohol is that it dehydrates you and it ruins your sleep. And sleep is essential for helping your body deal with stress because whenever you go to sleep at night, it's sort of like I've heard it described as your subconscious mind's digestive system. So, like when you sleep at night and you dream, your subconscious mind, which has absorbed every single detail of your day, whether you know it or not, that's why it's called the
Yeah.
subconscious. You dream and your mind processes everything it dealt with. So when you drink alcohol, you may fall asleep quickly, but you will typically wake up after a couple hours because all the sugars have gained momentum in your bloodstream. And so you wake up, you have a headache because you're dehydrated, can't go back to sleep. If you do go back to sleep, it's very low quality. And then you spend the next day recovering and
Mm,
you're in a bad mood. You didn't get quality sleep. So all that stuff that needed to get processed, all the stress didn't get processed. So the first thing I recommend is we consider how much alcohol we're drinking. What are your thoughts on that, Kiko?
So I don't want to complicate this conversation too much because, um, okay, first of all, I think you need to know where you are, and what your addiction is. For me, I've gone through with this eating disorder. So I need to be very mindful of what I surround with. Alcohol, on the other hand, I've drunk a lot. Like living in New York City, it was just a social thing, but I never really enjoyed drinking. I was never addicted to any kind of drugs, including alcohol. And so for me, I can control drinking alcohol easily. I just, when I became raw vegan, I realized I just much prefer drinking green juice or apple juice or orange juice that's easy to get. I'd rather drink that over alcohol. I just prefer the taste. So you know so that's me. And there are certain people who cannot who loves alcohol, who loves the taste of alcohol, who loves the feeling of alcohol. I don't like the taste of alcohol. I don't see much of a difference when I drink alcohol. So I feel much better, like natural high, in eating fruits. So I don't. Do you agree that those two things, like people drink alcohol because they can feel high, you're right? They can forget about a hard day that they went through, and then another reason is that they like the taste. And because I don't have two things that I look for in alcohol, I don't think I would ever be addicted. So having said that, um, I do drink when I find something really good quality alcohol. And I would never buy it myself. If I'm offered with certain quality of alcohol, I would drink it. And that was just 2 weeks ago. I was on a sake tour with my client, and this place was absolutely amazing. I might have to take you when you come here to Japan. I so this was tasting, but we ended up drinking quite a bit. And mind you, I haven't had alcohol in a long period of time, so the effect is much harder. And I had accepted that that night I might feel dry, I might feel, you know, tired. Like I had no negative effect. And it was incredible. Like my clients, when she was over 70, she said the same things. Like I don't drink much alcohol, but this was very interesting and I had no negative effect. So again, this happens for me like maybe once a year or twice a year, maybe a few times a year at the max. And so I just wanted to say that I do agree what you said, but sake in Japan is considered like a purified liquid. We when we go to shrine, we bring the sake and offer to our god. And this kind of sake is not usually not a mass. Traditionally speaking, wasn't a mass production, right? It was made locally, and or natural ingredients with love. So it's completely different from what's available. So I just wanted to mention that that there's exception.
Mhm. I know exactly what you mean. And thank you for sharing, by the way, and being honest about your experience, because I agree with you. There are some people, I understand some people have addictions and they have to absolutely abstain 100% of the time. It's just too tempting to fall back into their really bad habits. And that's one thing. Then there's the health person. There's the person who is obsessive about their health, like myself. And I understand that sometimes you can have a beer, you can have a glass of wine, and it's not going to wreck all of your health goals. And especially if you understand like what the consequences could be, you may be able to prevent them from happening. Like it sounds like I understand what you're talking about when you talk about this pure sake. Because as I lived in a wine country for a few years,
Mm.
I got to know winemakers, and actually, I have relatives. No, right now I was going to say in Italy. I don't know if any of my relatives make wine. They make olive oil, but my great grandfather made wine in his basement in Chicago. I remember when I was living in wine country, as I started to learn about the process of making wine, I started to think if it's made homemade, very much how kombucha, I've made kombucha before,
Mm.
any kind of fermented food. A fermented food is basically a low grade alcohol product, if you think about it,
Mhm, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just very low grade. And I think it's an important thing to keep in mind that if you are going to engage in some kind of alcohol, to be mindful of what it is that you're drinking, to
Mhm.
consider how it was made, how high the alcohol content is, because that really makes a difference. I can have a beer every now and then, and it
Mm.
doesn't hurt me. I
Mm.
can sleep just fine, but that's because it's actually a lower alcohol content than they have these kombucha products. They're called hard kombucha. Have you seen that? Where it's been fermented long enough to where it's become a sort of like an alcoholic product.
Um,
The
yeah,
alcohol, yeah, you haven't seen them?
I personally don't like kombucha, so I don't look for it. Yeah. I have made, yeah, I tried making it is itself, yeah, but I don't like the taste.
I love homemade kombucha. I love it, and I find that homemade kombucha does give me a sort of like very relaxed feeling.
Nice.
Very nice, and back in the old days when they first started making it, it had that quality to it. Now it's so commercialized, I
Mm.
don't trust pretty much any of it on the shelf. But the hard kombucha, I had a bottle of that at a vegan restaurant here in LA once, and I was like, I am never drinking that again because I felt like I had just had a huge glass of wine. It made me feel like I had a headache, and I felt
Oh,
like
oh.
I was like, hey, yeah, like my it gave me the like whole like buzzy behavior, you know? I was like, no, no, I'm not doing that again.
You know, this is interesting because I think a lot of people don't, this is a beauty of trying raw vegan diet
Mhm,
and understanding where you want to be as a healthy being, right? Like
mhm.
spiritually, like how you behave, how you want to look. And I feel like being a raw vegan, we know the base, right? So we always know, like you were saying, that when you try certain thing, you know how you feel. And I think most people don't even notice these slight change. They just look for like cravings, like, oh, I just want to eat that, I don't know, whatever, puffy cream or like whatever cheese. And I just want to eat that. And I feel good the moment that I'm eating. But what about after eating? I think a lot of people don't pay attention.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're talking about. I think you got to the heart of the whole point of this conversation is that as we go into or as we are have already entered this holiday season, it is so normal to just go on autopilot and not think it through, not think about what's going to happen tomorrow or how your stress is going to be impacted by your decisions. I think you're 100% correct.
Mm,
If so regarding alcohol, you got to choose very wisely. You got
yeah.
to consider, is it worth it? Is it a special occasion? Is it a special product? Did you already drink this week, or how often are you going to space it out? So yeah, good things to think about for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like if you're drinking as like a social drinker, that was my pressure for me, like to drink the same thing, to eat the same thing with others, and you can just pace it. Sometimes I just don't want to bother telling people that I don't drink,
Mhm.
and I just let people support, and I just don't drink it. you know.
I've done that before many
Mm,
times. And sometimes that's a good strategy, I think, because it's amazing to me how I remember growing up in I don't know if you guys had this term peer pressure.
oh yeah.
I heard about it constantly when I was an adolescent and a teenager, and adults were always talking to us about peer pressure and just say no, and they made it seem like I don't know what I was expecting, but when I became a grown up, I was shocked at how much more intense the peer pressure actually was. I feel like people get very uncomfortable if you say no to alcohol. They think you're judging them or whatever. And so I've done that too. I've just said, okay, just pour me a little glass. And like you, I don't drink it. And they never notice. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just realized that we could talk about alcohol like whole for the whole podcast. But
We
yeah,
probably could. But we'll move on. And
yes.
maybe we should do an episode on alcohol. I think it's something that we should talk about more.
Mm,
But okay, so
so that-
that's the I wanted to talk about being very careful about limiting alcohol, refined sugar, refined flour, coffee, and soda. I know that like coffee is sort of a lot of raw vegans who are listening to this don't drink coffee, but for people who are just starting out, they might still be drinking coffee. And the reason I bring this up, I'm not a coffee hater. I actually drink a coffee probably once a week. We go to a cafe and it's like a ritual that I enjoy. But
mm,
the daily consumption of coffee is where I think we have to really start thinking about things because we're talking about holiday stress here. And coffee is so high in caffeine, it spikes your cortisol levels, which intensifies your stress levels. What happens to your immunity when your stress system goes haywire? Your immunity weakens, it goes down.
mm,
So we do have to talk about the things to be careful about not doing
mm.
before we can talk about the things to consume and the things to do. Because if you are loading up your body with alcohol, caffeine, and sugary snacks or desserts, and then you want to just go and take a chlorophyll pill, no.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That
Sorry,
doesn't.
not
Yeah.
going to work.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so those are the things I would caution people against. I would say knock it all off for this season, but maybe just be very selective every like few weeks if you want to enjoy something as a treat. It's not going to hurt you, you know, but be careful about making this a regular daily or weekly thing.
Yeah. Look for substitute. Like we have a lot of coffee substitute. Or I don't drink any caffeine really. Like even tea, I don't drink anymore, and I just shifted to herb tea. And it's important that you choose something that you can replace, because when you remove something from your life, you would always be looking for what you used to drink or eat. So definitely find something that's enjoyable instead of coffee or whatever.
Exactly. I think that's really good advice because it's really the ritual for most people.
Mhm.
It's not so much the high from the alcohol or the coffee. I mean, the coffee, people do get quite addicted to that caffeine.
They
They
need to have, yeah, I do remember, like, especially Americans, like, they need to have that morning coffee. Otherwise, they're not awake. And I don't know, I feel like they condition themselves that they need to have that coffee. So can they replace with something else to kind of wake them up?
I always recommend tea. I think black tea is pretty high in caffeine, but it doesn't hit you as hard as coffee. And then once you get used to not having as much caffeine in your system, black tea becomes overwhelming as well. Like I don't drink black tea. I can't drink coffee every day. I can't drink black tea every day. It's way too much. But I do enjoy a tea called Gayusa. It's from South America. It's sort of like it tastes very similar to yerba mate, and it contains about the same amount of green tea caffeine as green tea,
Mhm.
maybe a little bit more. But the way it processes in your body is so slow that it doesn't feel like a cup of coffee does. Like, I don't know when the last time was you had a cup of
Mhm.
coffee, but whenever I have one, I start talking really fast. I start moving. It's like I've taken cocaine or something. Like what I've seen people do.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how anybody does cocaine because I can't even do a cup of coffee like on a regular basis.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Well, for me, I stopped drinking any like caffeine related tea. Even like green tea, I would hardly ever drink it. It's because my husband had a headache. This was years ago. In the beginning of our relationship, he had a migraines. He started to have migraines, and we noticed that. Well, we said, "How about we skip the morning tea?" And I used to drink black tea. When I was living in France, I was offered a lot in the morning, so I would drink it. And my husband noticed the migraine, so he stopped. And then first week, he had a migraines, stronger than before. And then coming to second week, he had like completely gone.
Yeah, I've had that experience as well. First of all, when I quit drinking alcohol, which I guess every now and then I'll have a little bit, but in general, I don't drink. And I don't drink coffee on a daily basis. And once I stopped doing that, my headaches went away. I had the same problem. It seems like I think it has a lot to do with dehydration, but also
Mm.
there's another reason for it. Inside the brain, I didn't prepare for this, so I can't remember it. But there's a receptor in your brain, and your brain makes these chemicals, and your brain makes them naturally. I wish I could remember the name right now. What happens is caffeine, the molecule of caffeine, looks exactly like this molecule that your brain naturally produces. So, what happens when you drink caffeine on a regular basis is your brain stops producing as much of this normal molecule. And
Mm.
so, inside the receptors, the caffeine molecules go inside. And that's
Mm.
why you get a headache whenever you quit.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. So, hi, Creative Hurt. She said, that's interesting. I've actually known people who use caffeine for migraines. I mean, whatever works for everyone. And she also said, I had some organic cacao recently. I was bouncing off the walls and felt inflamed.
David's like that. It's so cute. He can't handle any caffeine, and
Oh,
he likes it when I make him a hot chocolate with cacao, and that's sort of like his limit. And sometimes he'll want to have a second one, and it's so funny. It gets so crazy from cacao. I get such a kick out of this.
yeah, it's funny when my husband he became very sensitive to caffeine. He lost cacao as well, and but during that time, like very sensitive time, he couldn't handle cacao at that time, cacao powder. So that was interesting. Someone who loves cacao, he was getting sensitive. So that's great. But Creative Her, she's off caffeine for 5 years.
Congrats.
Yeah. Any
That's good.
caffeine.
That's really good. Any caffeine besides matcha made me feel really energized until afternoon. Yeah, then there's a crash. Green
Mhm.
tea has L-theanine, which balances you out more. Yeah, I think green tea is awesome. Even for somebody though like David, green tea is too much. So there are some people who can't handle any caffeine. And I
Mm.
totally get that. For me, you were very transparent when we had the alcohol conversation. I'll admit that I like a little caffeine when I write. It became a part of my writing ritual a long, long time ago, and so that's why I investigated and I found a tea that didn't wreck my nervous system.
Mm.
I learned about it from a health coach friend of mine. She was the one who turned me on to Guayusa tea, and so I drink it every single morning while I'm writing. And there was a moment, me being like the obsessive compulsive raw vegan perfectionist where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be drinking this. And I realized You know, if something helps you in a ritual that is so important in your life, you have to have flexibility. And so that's
Mm.
why I'm not against caffeine, because I find that, and I know if I stopped drinking it, yes, I would get a headache. Yes. I understand it's an addictive habit at this point, but my writing is so important to me, and that's why I won't give it up, you know.
Oh, that's nice. It's, yeah, ceremonial
Yes.
purpose. Oh, interesting. Okay, great. Maybe we should move to another
Let's
because we have quite a few list.
We have quite a few. Okay, so here's what we want to add more of throughout this season. I mean, we should do this all the time, but we should be especially mindful of it, because these items are going to help our body deal with the stress response,
Mm.
and also help make up for any little cheat moments we happen to have along the way. So we want to load up on fruits and vegetables because they're loaded with antioxidants, and they're loaded with vitamin C. Vitamin C is important for immunity building, as we all know. The great thing about vitamin C is that it's very difficult to overdose on it. You can consume so much vitamin C, and all that's going to happen is that it comes out in your urine. It's water soluble. So eat as much fruit as you can.
Yeah,
And
and it's interesting. I think I mentioned this early in the last podcast that orange that's transported, and if because it's not harvested mature, and it's green when they harvest. So if you were to eat orange from Florida and you get it from, I don't know, somewhere else, apparently there's no vitamin C found in that orange. So I eat a lot of fruits, and I might be thinking like, okay, well, it's okay, I'm covered with vitamin C, but now I'm more mindful of the kind of fruits, where do I get it from. So I try to get fruits close to me, right? And you know ideally someone that I know or that I can trust. So does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
if instead of getting it from, we get a lot of oranges from Australia, I probably don't have much vitamin C in there. But if I were to get the tangerine that's similar from locally, I would have better chance of getting more nutrition.
it's a good point. And so if you're in a situation where you feel like you may not be getting fruits that actually contain high levels of vitamin C, there are two things you can do. Frozen fruit is actually sometimes more nutrient dense than fresh because it's frozen as soon as it's harvested. So you might actually be able to get more vitamin C with frozen pineapple or frozen mango. And you can also supplement with whole food supplements. There are three that I know of that have a high level of vitamin C. There's camu berry, and these
Mm.
are all powders. You can put them in your smoothie. There's baobab powder, and that's baobab, and then acerola cherry, acerola cherry. Those three, any one of those, if you put a teaspoon in your smoothie every day, you'll get a good amount of vitamin C. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a comment.
Yeah, from Creative Herd. Yes, I often wonder if it's worth to eat fresh foods because they don't pick them ripe. So maybe the frozen or cooked could be better. So frozen, I don't know about the fruits, but for frozen veggie, I heard that it's pretty much pasteurized, right? They all have. So I think fruits also is pasteurized. So what I do is, pineapple, for example, I don't buy the frozen one, but I buy the fresh one and then freeze it myself.
Mm.
Then I can, always better to go whole foods, even though they said that, some orange might not contain vitamin C, but by the time that you eat it, I do believe it's better than, I don't know, getting from pills, because I don't like, it's all about knowing the process, how they make it, and it's just impossible to know, everything you eat, where does it come from, how do they process, and they might change the process at some time, but Whole Foods, it's a bit, it's a little more difficult to hide what they're doing.
Plus, most of us don't eat just one orange. We eat several oranges at once, So you're
Mm,
probably getting a decent amount of vitamin C by the time you finish all of them.
mm.
Oh, Creative Heart, you have an orange tree in your yard, but last year rats every single. Oh no, they ate every single one, and I have a huge tree. I was so sad. Oh, that's such a bummer. I'm gonna have to mute my microphone in just a moment because my dog is in here and the gardener's just walked by. I know she's gonna start barking. So if I mute all of a sudden, I'm trying to spare you. But before she does, let me say the next thing on our list.
Yes.
So greens, chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is my favorite antioxidant because it assists in the detoxification process. And if you want to go into more depth, I have an article and an ebook on my blog, rawvegannofriends.com. I'm going to pause and let you take
Yeah,
it away, Kiko.
sure. Of course. Yeah, I love greens. This year I have started including greens in everything I eat. So I have like go-to meals, and one of the go-to meals was in my Namado book, the parfait, which is chia berry parfait. So basically it's chia seeds, cacao powder, or you can use the substitute if you don't take cacao, and dates, and I mix it with mixed berry, and I love that taste. But I realized that I can sneak in some greens, and you don't taste it, right? So like I do it for myself, and I do it for my husband as well. And yesterday I added the green powder, and he's like, "Wow, this is so good!" And I didn't tell I didn't tell him there was a green powder in there, and then he's like, "Well, this is good. You should try. You should make it more." So
That's good. Green powders are amazing. I do love fresh greens with every single meal. Microgreens, kale, sprouts, spinach in my smoothies. But I always have some kind of a green powder. I use a spirulina powder every single day.
oh wow,
Chlorella, yeah. Oh,
every single day.
every single day. I love spirulina. Yeah.
Wow, I wish I could say that. I don't like the taste. How do you make it? How do you take it?
Well, I honestly I don't notice the taste at all anymore. I've been consuming it for so many years, but I do mask it pretty well with I put at least two bananas in my smoothie. Sometimes I'll put a couple dates if my bananas are not quite ripe enough to be sweet.
Mm.
And then I use a tablespoon of cacao powder, which helps, and I use a couple drops of peppermint oil, which is also a pretty intense flavor. So I don't notice the spirulina flavor at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
There's
I
also a moringa though. Moringa powder is an amazing green. I don't like the taste of moringa though. It tastes like grass.
uh oh yeah, interesting. I prefer moringa, but yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer kale or some other green veggie, the cruciferous veggies.
Yeah.
But yeah, those powders are very handy, especially when I was traveling with my clients. I was relying on that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I like Creative Heart's comment here. God, fruitarians demonize green so much. I know, I've seen that too. Not all, well, fruitarians, yeah. Yeah, the whole the whole divide between fruitarians and other raw vegans is just entertainment for me at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just chill, pull back and enjoy the show, right? Nothing personal.
I could not be satisfied just from a hunger perspective. But yeah, I don't understand that. To me, greens are so important. I would actually call myself a greenitarian if people understood what I was saying, because that's I hold greens to be such high value.
Mm,
So
yeah.
she says, I use spirulina, wheatgrass juice powder. Yeah, wheatgrass juice powder is is very healthy. I personally don't like the taste of wheatgrass. That's why I don't, but it's pretty powerful stuff. Yeah.
Cool. I actually don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I think we all have to try out, what's available in the market and find the one that, you like and then find the one that makes you feel good at the same time. Because there are certain things that I didn't like the taste. Like I think, yeah, maybe kale smoothie. I didn't like it in the beginning, but I got hang of it, like, and I crave for it. Right.
Yeah.
And I do feel the taste. I mean, I I I miss it. It's not just the taste that I miss it. I feel better eating that way.
See, I think you just touched on something important that so many things are actually acquired tastes. So at first, kale can be really intense and the flavor is too bitter. But then after a while, I'm the same way. I crave kale salads now. And I didn't like kale salads at one point. I remember the first time I saw somebody eating raw kale, I was like, how? How? I didn't know you could do that. Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. The idea kind of horrified me. And now I crave it all the time. I crave green juice. And I think also, just real quick, going back to the alcohol conversation, I don't know if I don't know if I really believe anybody likes the taste of alcohol. I think they acquire a taste for it. I think it's the
Mm,
situation. But see, that same superpower can be done with healthy stuff like greens.
yeah, definitely. Greens are my favorite. Yeah, I definitely try to sneaking in everything I eat nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I'll read this comment and then I'll go on to the next things on my list. So, Creative Heart says most of the green powders do taste yuck. I just mask them. That's what you do. It's like you're an adult now. You're a grown up. Okay, like you can handle bad tasting things, and you can mask it with things like dates and bananas, and it's not that hard. Okay, so next on my list, I have essential fats, which we talked about last time. So things like flax seeds, chia seeds, and hemp seeds. I think this is really important because, as we talked about in our last podcast, when you don't have enough omega 3s, it's easy for inflammation to take hold. And
Yeah.
inflammation is what is a big part of the reason why we get sick. Our immune system goes way down because it's trying too hard to just survive and stay alive. So we need to make sure we have flax seeds, chia seeds, or hemp seeds every single day.
Mm.
And we have to grind them up too.
Yeah, greens and omega-3 fatty acids is something I'm always mindful. If I like fruits is so easy, it just tastes so good that I don't have to put effort to it. But omega-3 fatty acids and greens, I have to almost, yeah, I have to be mindful every time. Like, okay, how can I add super greens in whatever I'm eating?
Yeah, exactly. And the good news is that a lot of greens contain a high level of omega 3s. It's just that you need the chia seeds or the flax seeds to get the extra boost. I don't think greens are really in my well, I'll put it this way, in my nutrition course, we did follow a sample menu where a mostly fruitarian who consumes greens didn't consume any chia seeds or flax seeds and was able to get a pretty decent level of omega 3s. So it is possible, but I'm a big fan of going the extra mile and
Yeah.
getting.
And yeah, it's all about, yeah, like being protecting ourselves. So we are talking about building immunity, right? So you might not feel the negative effect right now, but it's just, protecting ourselves from future sickness. Yeah.
Exactly. So, Creative Heart, yes, omega 3s are vital. It took me years to figure that out. I think it's really a problem for everybody. It's not just raw vegans, it's the whole culture, the whole modern culture doesn't know what omega 3s are and doesn't understand how challenging they are to get, and that you actually have to make an effort to get them in your diet because they are essential, meaning our bodies do not produce them. And so we have to get them in our diet. And if you don't get them, that's when you run the risk of inflammation, which is what causes disease and skin problems. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. This year again for me was a huge turning point as a raw vegan. I started to look at the science because I said, I wanted everything to be natural and like, I if I taste if it doesn't taste good, I shouldn't welcome to my body. And
mm,
then that's why I was on like heavy fruit base until last year. And I was taking greens, but I don't think it was enough. And
mm,
then this year, I started to see some, scientific facts, and also I was going through some inflammation. So omega-3 fatty acids and greens, even though, it's not cultivated here, it's nothing near my proximity, and it doesn't taste good on its own, but I do feel the benefit out of it. So I am definitely sticking with it.
it is nice to take advantage of modern conveniences and
Mhm.
technology, and there's a purpose for it. I understand what you're saying. Perhaps it's not how our ancestors would have lived, but we have some advantages in life, being able to buy things like camu berry powder or spirulina powder, and being able to like mega charge our nutrition is quite a gift, and
Mm,
try to be grateful for it,
yeah.
you know? Okay, so I'll go on to the next part of the list.
Yeah.
I see Creative Heart doesn't like the texture of chia and flax in the smoothie, but I suffer through it. You know what I found is just you have to drink your smoothie immediately,
Yeah.
because I find if I let it sit for too long, I hear you. I don't love it. I don't love that texture, but it's not so bad if I just drink it quickly. All right, so I have a couple more things left on my list here. B12, B vitamins in general are essential for your body's ability to fight stress. And
Mm,
B12 is so important for everybody. Most people are deficient, or at least mildly deficient, in B12 because our bodies do not make B12. B12 is a bacteria. It's typically formed in the soil. And even if we're getting locally grown food that's been in organic soil, we still might not be getting enough B12. So it's just worth it to supplement. I know a lot of fruitarians, this is a controversial subject in the raw community. Some fruitarians are against B12 supplementation because they believe they can get it somehow miraculously. I I don't believe it. I think that it's better to supplement. How do you feel, Kiko?
Um, how do I feel? Sorry, I was just reading the message. Can you repeat that?
About supplementing B12?
Oh, so I uh I personally didn't have any issues unless I was losing a lot of blood.
Hmm.
So I recommend people taking the test. Um, and I'm gonna be tested next week, so I'll see. I'm really curious how it's gonna turn out because last week was very stressful, and I'm getting this. I don't know if you know, when you're lack of magnesium, you get like a tense, like like
Eye twitch?
yeah, eye twitch. Yeah,
Oh, is that a magnesium deficiency?
yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like a stress response, but that's
Well,
magnesium. Okay.
yeah, stress. Yeah, if you're lacking
Mhm.
magnesium, yeah, it's yeah. And my husband went through that years ago, and then that's how I realized. Like he went to see a doctor, and he started taking magnesium supplements, and it just went away. But it does take time, and I knew that I needed extra magnesium last week. Like I last 2 3 weeks was very intense and stressful for my work. So I started taking nigari, which is the high magnesium contents from sea water. But it wasn't enough. I started taking it a bit too late. So like last few days, I'm feeling like the twitch, and that's one of the response of lacking in magnesium, and it could be B12. So I'm gonna check myself, and if I don't have, if the test results comes out that I'm lacking B12, I will supplement. But so I'm not against it.
I'm glad you brought up magnesium though, because I didn't put it on the list. And magnesium is so important for so many reasons. It's good for the muscles and it's good for digestion, but it's really good for calming the mind. And sometimes people will take magnesium at night to help them sleep.
Mm,
And a really nice way to get magnesium into your system is through Epsom salts in the bath. So through the
mm,
skin. A massage therapist once told me that it's one of the most effective ways to absorb magnesium into the
yeah.
body. So that's a great way to take it.
Yeah, I love that idea. I used to do this a lot when I was in France. For some reason, my body was going through a lot of stress when I was living in Paris. And when I was taking magnesium pill, I didn't see much of a difference. But Epsom salt, like I like how it relaxes me and it has a double effect. So yeah, um, I definitely prefer not taking supplements and try to get from different ways because there's a whole scam about supplements as well. So that's why I like going to a doctor at least once a year to do the blood test, and whatever is low, I will get the prescribed supplements.
Yeah, I hear you. And greens are high in magnesium. So if you're eating a lot of greens, you're getting enough magnesium.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that's why I try to load a lot of
Mhm.
cruciferous veggies especially in my green juice.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't take magnesium supplements ever because I get so many greens, but I have a container of Calms, that brand Calms
Mm.
magnesium powder, and I've used it before at night. Like if I'm really wired and I can't stop thinking and I'm having trouble sleeping, I've used it for sleep and it helps.
Mm.
But in
Yeah,
general, you don't need it if you eat a lot of greens.
yeah. I mean, just load up on greens. I do. Again, when I was living in Paris, magnesium supplements. There were abundance of supplements on magnesium, and I was told that you have to try out different brands because we respond like each body respond in different way. So for me it didn't work. Like supplements that I tried everything on the off the
Mhm.
counter or the herbalist recommended, I didn't
Mhm.
see the difference. So I prefer greens, lots of greens.
Yeah, I hear you. I see Creative Heart is recommending magnesium oil. That's interesting. I didn't know that. And I will check it out because I actually prefer extracts to or oils to powders. It's just easier for my palate. Okay, so I have one more thing on the nutrition front to recommend. Adaptogens. Adaptogens are helpful for they're what they mean is they help your body adapt to whatever's happening. So if you're feeling super stressed out, they calm you down. If you're feeling really tired, they energize you.
Mm.
And the ones that I wrote down are maca, lion's mane, reishi, but there are a whole bunch. Ashwagandha is one, which I have mixed feelings about ashwagandha, so I don't typically recommend it. But I personally use maca, lion's mane, and reishi quite often, and I
Wow.
like them. What about you? Have you used any?
I just want to be your neighbor. I started to include maca powder, but I don't really. Yeah, I tend to forget. I always add ginger, whole foods. I always try to go whole foods, and yeah, I don't know. If it doesn't taste good, I don't stick with it. And
Okay.
greens, I know, I feel the difference. So reishi, ashwanga, I'm yeah. I mean, you have to really know the who is making it. Can you trust this person? Because I I've done like Ayurveda course in when I was in India, and they it's very hard to find the trustable source. They add, yeah, they apparently they found like 80 or 90 the crazy amount of percentage of ashwagandha or whatever the supplements in general. They ended up filling with whatever uh, was not the real source, and they could start with the real source, but it's very difficult to make the money profit out of it apparently. So they ended up doing the filling. So yeah, that's my
Bring a good point up. Yeah. Yeah. Because they're also really expensive. These adaptogens are not cheap.
yeah.
The one company I 100% trust is Paul Stamets' company, Host Defense. Paul Stamets, if you don't know who he is a mycologist. I've watched several of his lectures. I've seen many interviews with him. I watched his documentary. I trust him 100% when it comes to the fungal types. So like lion's mane, reishi, uh, I can't remember the others, but there are others, and he makes these great products. I trust him. He's one of the only ones I can say I feel totally comfortable with.
That's
So I
great.
recommend him. If you're a high stress person, they could be very helpful.
Mm.
I see Vegan Reads has an amazing tip here. Dissolve magnesium chloride flakes in water and put in a spray bottle, then out of the shower spray onto your skin. That's brilliant. I'm going
Yeah,
to try that for real.
I would love that. Yeah.
I will try that out. I'll report back to you because in my mind, I can see why that's a good idea. So thank you for that tip.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think I just have one more tip and then we're gonna close out.
Mhm.
I would also recommend trying to sweat as much as you can because sweating is such a good way to detox and I know it's hard to do this in the colder months. So the ways I thought about is exercising indoors always makes me break a sweat. So some kind of cardio if you have a gym membership, or if you don't, you can do aerobics videos, something like a YouTube video that gets you moving up and down really fast inside saunas and steam rooms, hot yoga studios. And so that's my final tip. I'll just say one more thing before I hand it back over to you to close. We're going into the season where there's a lot of pressure to make unhealthy decisions, but think ahead. Think ahead. We are sovereign beings. We can make our own choices and choose wisely.
Yeah, yeah. Think about you tomorrow, thanking you, not drinking that whole bottle of wine or the cheesecake or whatever, right? Like think about you next week or like in future, then you would have a better um action. Regarding sweating, when I feel really cold, I like doing burpees. I just jump and then do push up, just 10 rounds, and then I'm just warm. Then I can move around. I also I have a sauna, so I jump in the morning. Yeah, so that makes a huge difference. I do a lot of cycling, but yeah, lots of things. But yeah, always think about the future yourself. Like future yourself is thanking you. Oh, thank you for doing that exercise. I feel better today because of that. So
That's such a beautiful way to put it. Thank you, Kiko. You're
uh,
right. Our future self, we have to remember that there's a future self that's depending on our current self to make good decisions.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just shifting every time because of the sunlight. But this has been great, and thank you so much. Ray Sleever is so funny. I try
Oh,
to
I
focus.
missed all of them.
Yeah, he's funny.
Tis the season to lose your sense of reason. Oh my God. I have to remember that. That is so good.
Which one is that?
I just opened up the chat window and I'm seeing Race Lever says, "Tis the season to lose your sense of reason."
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
And he or she, my comments aren't making the screen today of being like, I'm so sorry, but I try to focus, but you're funny, and I do read your comments.
Oh
But
my gosh, I'm sorry I missed those. I always enjoy your hysterical comments. I'm kind of scrolling them right now, but I won't waste everybody's time. Is Guinness vegan? Alcohol is vegan. Well, not all wines are. I've learned that, but
yeah.
depends on what your definition is, I guess.
So, yeah, I should let you go, Bella. This has been great, and we realized that we have so many topics to cover in the future, and maybe we can do a little more specific ones. But we talk about stress, so maybe we could focus on magnesium. But we'll talk about it offline, Bella. But
Sounds good.
yeah, thank you so much. I've learned so much, and I hope that you enjoy the show and learned that you can apply on a daily basis easily. So enjoy the festival month.
Yes.
Be see
Everybody have a good week and see you guys next week.
you next week. Bye.
Bye.